Now, if you watched the last video, you'll have seen that I bought another project car. This time it's the UK's cheapest Mark V R32. And no, I'm not exaggerating, I paid just £2,500 for this rusty masterpiece. It somehow runs pretty well. I've been dailying it for the past week, but it's obviously looking very tired at this point. And the goal for today is to just make it look a bit more presentable with the help of eBay UK, who have kindly sponsored this video. Now, if you weren't already aware, eBay actually has a dedicated section on their website where they offer certified recycled parts. There's literally over 1 million items to choose from, all from trusted sellers who are VRAC certified. This means that the items have undergone stringent quality testing to ensure that they're in working order and also that they're identified correctly. You're also covered by eBay's purchase protection if things don't go to plan, and naturally, of course, it's just better for the environment as you're reusing rather than instantly opting for something new. Don't forget, these certified recycled parts do come with a warranty, so there's nothing to be worried about. So naturally, I put in the reg for the R32 and a bunch of items came up. I ended up with a nice selection which we'll work our way through as the video progresses, but let's begin with the interior first. Currently, this R32 has seats out of a Mark V GT, and that's because the seller sold the Recaro wingbacks that the car originally came with. Yes, it would be nice to put them back in, but I didn't fancy blowing the same amount of money I paid for the whole car and a set of chairs, so I had to think and decided to go with some Scirocco seats. There's literally a ton of these available on eBay, all in different specifications and at very reasonable prices, but because we already have a Scirocco R sitting in the unit doing nothing, I opted to just take them out of that just to see how they look. Now, condition wise, these are pretty good considering the fact that they're out of a 2015 car with around 70,000 miles. The other good thing is they actually have this quick release handle because of course all of those are 3 doors, and this being a 3-door R32, it needs that access because currently these GT seats are out to a 5-door model, so they don't have this handle here, and because the tailgate doesn't open, it just makes this whole rear section a bit of a nightmare at the moment. So let's get these screws out. There's M10s on each corner, a few plugs here and whatnot, but yeah, it should be relatively straightforward. Process all seems the same as any other Volkswagen. Well, they're really long, aren't they? Nice and easy, folks, nice and easy. Always a good idea to vacuum everything as well now that you got the seats out. It isn't actually that bad under here, it could have been much worse. This has definitely seen better days. Now, the main tip I've got when you're swapping out seats, make sure your rails are in the same position as you last saw them, because sometimes they'll be out by one slot on either side, they don't move in unison, you see. That's the slot there. See, that's the function I wanted, as you should have in a 3-door. Quick access. Now, in terms of the plugs, considering this seat is 10 years newer than this car, I've got 3 here. We've got the main one. The other 2 here, though, I'm not too sure. That yellow end connector looks slightly different, and there doesn't seem to be anywhere for the black connector. But I'm sure one of you VW seat retrofit gurus probably knows exactly what to do with these 2. For now, I'll leave this as it is, and let's move on to that one. There we go. It's a pretty nice, easy retrofit that. I'm quite pleased with the way they look. Now, it does help that they're out of an R model, so they have the R logo on the headrest. But I'll be honest, a lot of Scirocco seats are the same shape. They just have a different logo up there. But a nice, inexpensive retrofit, especially if you've got a Mark V Golf. Don't always limit yourself to seats from a Mark V. There's plenty of other Volkswagens you can choose from. So far, I don't think it's chucked up an airbag light either, but we'll find out now. Nope, doesn't look like we've got any lights. Now, we're going to move on to the front of the R32 next, and I want to get it on the lift for that because there's a few little things I need a bit more access to. But before I do that, make sure you go down and click subscribe if you do enjoy content like this. I've got plenty coming up, so you won't want to miss it. Quick point of reference, just so you're all up to speed, even if you probably saw it already in the first video. That is one of the rustiest Mark V wings I've ever seen. It's all just crumbling in real time, and the idea is to just replace this with a brand new one, and I've decided to go with a genuine item. Now, you may be thinking, why is it in satin black and not deep blue pearl? Well, this is how they arrive from the factory. It's a primered item. I want to get it fitted and then sort out all sorts of paintwork later on. We also have a slight problem with the bonnet doesn't want to stay open. And to rectify that, I've opted for this brand new strut off eBay. It's significantly cheaper than the OE product, and it's not exactly a complicated thing. So we'll give this a try. Now, if you look at it a bit more closely, we can see that the arch liner isn't really, well, I think all of this has rotted off because that seems to be screwed in place as it should, but there's a gap between it. Don't chip it too much because I think this would be a good ornament to put up there on the wall. Because it's R32 specific, it was trickier to find a used one to go with already in this color. But you never know, if you've got a Mark V with this problem, just check on eBay, you might get lucky. Up there, that is the culprit for the wings on Mark 5s rotting out. It's the same on B6 Passats, because that's not staying in there. It's a piece of foam that just gets all soggy. Now, removing the wing is pretty simple. You've got one T30 behind the door, which doesn't fully detach. A couple of 10mm on the left side of the wheel arch, which in order to access, you'll have to scrape off this protective sealant. There's a further few bolts in the lower section where it meets the sill, but my wing was so rotted out it already separated itself. You'll then want to detach the corner of the bumper to access 2 more 10mm. I managed to avoid removing it fully and just use a spanner to deal with the limited workspace. It's definitely possible, that's both of them out. Now we'll get the ones at the top. Oh my God, did that just happen? I didn't even plan to do that. Told you it's not metal anymore. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 10mm it looks like. If you ever wondered what rust looks like, that's it right there. There we go. That's it right there. Don't know what it is, but it's pretty straightforward. You can leave the bumper on as I've done. It might be tricky getting the screws back in, but I think we should be okay. If they came out of there, they can go back in. Got various bits of adhesive like this here. And also you want to make sure you cut a line on these two, because it will hold the wing on and you'll be confused. Got a bit of rust on the body there. These Mark 5s are known to start rotting out their sills, so we will get that inspected at a later date. Right, so reinstallation. I began firstly by removing this dead piece of metal on the sill, as it's actually present on the new wing. Offering it up was pretty straightforward. You want to make sure you hook in the side by the door first, as it has some tabs that go around that fixed T30. Getting the panel gaps correct is probably something that just comes with experience, something which I definitely don't have in bodywork. And yeah, make sure you have this bracket on your new wing. I forgot to transfer it over and I was wondering why my bumper doesn't clip in. Again, I managed to get it done in place through that slight gap. Arch liner's back in, and there we have it, a completed Mark 5 wing install. Now, whilst the car's still on the ramp, it's time we do something about those wheels, and here's what I found when searching through eBay's parts section. A set of genuine Mark 5 R32 Ammonite wheels, which I paid just over £300 for, and the main thing is they had no advertised cracks or welds. Now, I won't lie, since seeing the Zolders on a 3-door deep blue pearl R32, I do think that they suit it quite well. They remind me a lot of the Mark 4 R32 wheels, but they're not exactly in the most ideal condition. Yes, I know the whole car isn't, but these are definitely worse for wear. And the whole idea behind getting these is that it'll make this thing sit nicely alongside the R36, which also has the Ammonite wheel design, albeit slightly different dimensions, even though they're both 18-inch. These are available as a standard fit item around the 2007 mark, and the original finish did have a diamond cut edge, but most of the sets to buy now don't have that anymore. But I have gone ahead and fitted some fresh tyres, Continental Sport Contact 7s in the standard 225 4018. These are like a 4S rival. They're ultra high performance tyre. Big impact, because I've already torqued these previously. No big deal. So that anyway. Solder off. Ammonite's on. Leave the caps off until we've torqued them when on the ground. Let's move on to this bonnet strut and get that changed. I'm going to put the price of the OE one on the screen, and you can see how much more it is compared to this one I've got off eBay. Right, that's off. Clip the new one in. Been pretty self-explanatory that. I mean, you guys know I love OEM stuff, but when it comes to a bonnet strut, there isn't really much you can go wrong with getting an aftermarket part. You can spend that money elsewhere. Bit of strength on that. Now that's what you call a bonnet strut. That was powerful. Close this. Definitely not factory specification, that gap there, but this is probably going to come off again when the body shop paints it, so I'm happy with that for now. And the finishing touch for the front end. Cool, front end and side done. So you can kind of see the theme I was going for by putting them wheels on there. It pretty much matches up identically with the R36, even though the color scheme is slightly different. But Volkswagen Group at the time did do a picture with 3 cars, so there is still one missing from the trio, and the other one is the Touareg R50. But we'll get to that one in due course. It's going to take slightly longer to find an R50 in Biscay Blue for the right price. But yeah, next on the agenda is to address this tailgate, which as you can see is quite rusty around the badge area. Now this is common for a Mark 5, but it's just way more more exaggerated compared to normal. And it also doesn't open. That's why I've just propped it open from the inside and just put a microfiber there so it doesn't close. And to rectify it, I've gone for this, which is a complete tailgate, which I managed to find on eBay. Quite a rare find because it's already painted in deep blue pearl. It was a certified recycled item and I paid just over £120 for it, and that was including delivery. And the fact that it comes with the R32 badges, the inner cherry lights, and also this later badge here, which has the little indent. You can tell the earlier ones do start to get this white worm around, similar to the Ammonite wheels, to be fair. We have got a bit of rust there around the lights. There's a couple of scratches and it has started here, but it's way better than what's currently on the car. But yeah, let's get started on removing the tailgate. 10 mil to get this trim off. So the wiring goes through there. At the end, there's 3 connectors, which you don't have to like unclip, just pull them straight out. That's where they go into. Yeah, the cool thing about the new tailgate is that it's got a complete wiring harness. So we haven't got any chopped wires to worry about. We can just plug it straight in. Not the benefit of buying off an approved retailer on eBay. 2 antenna plugs. Again, on the new one. Then these are the washer jet lines on the ground. Now the washer jet line on the car side seems to just disappear into the body, so I figured it's easier to just leave that alone and feed it through the new tailgate. I was going to be removing the trim anyway, as the new one didn't have a wiper motor, so that needed to be swapped over from the old one. But in typical fashion, I managed to break that tiny nozzle when trying to remove this rusty wiper arm, so I just moved on to the 2 nuts holding the tailgate in place. Once they're out, you still got the gas struts helping you out. Unclip them and pull straight off. Alright, that's loose. Easy enough. Getting the new one in place isn't too bad either. Once you line up the 2 hinges at the back, just swing up and put the struts back on. It's definitely doable solo, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. That seems to be lining up exactly where the original one is. As the previous owner had done a wiper delete, they just plugged the line with a screw to stop any fluid coming through. Bit of a bodge, but unfortunately I had to replicate it on my line until a new wiper motor arrives. Moment of truth. Pretty good fitment. It does open, yeah. That means that the wiring was a problem on the old tailgate, because I haven't done anything apart from unplug stuff and plug everything back in. Right, so I got the tailgate all fitted back up. It's looking way better than the previous one. As I said, it's not perfect, but in comparison to that, you guys can let me know if you think that's good enough. I think that the color match is also pretty much bang on. Obviously, you got to remember that this is plastic and it was dirty, so I tried cleaning up some of the edges. But if you look here on the roof, that's definitely good enough for me. I don't know about you folks. Maybe there's some paint experts out there. I've gone ahead and put this trim back in place. Also, the sides are done, but I've left that off for one reason, and that's because we are fitting these tail lights. Now, some of you guys who are into your Mark 5s will be familiar with them and know exactly what they are. These are the OEM Valio rear lights. For some reason, they never made it onto the Mark 5 as like a production item, but they were always available in left-hand drive markets. They're all the same type of set and they rarely come up for sale. But I actually kept these from our previous R32. Now, these of course are an upgrade from your regular Mark 5 Golf. They're in like a cherry finish as opposed to bright red. That's one way to tell if you're going to view an R32 or an Edition 30. If it's got bright red lights, that means they've been changed. I know some people aren't really fans of the Valios, but the whole idea behind them is that it makes it look more in unison with this thing right here. As you can tell, everything today is making that look like this. Passat B6s came with Valios from the factory, as did cars like the EOS and also the Golf Plus, strangely enough. The only thing with the center lights is that because these were for a left-hand drive car, the fog and the reverse are flipped. So if you look here, that's the reverse light. On a right-hand drive car, the fog light is on that side. But what I'll do, we'll fit them up so you can see what it looks like. And I'll probably swap the inner ones back over to them, because doing this modification means splitting the housings, and I don't fancy doing that right now. Right, so the inner lights, which are on the boot lid and they already came with them, technically you don't need to take this whole trim off to remove it. There's this little panel here that we took off earlier and you can access these through there. These are 10 mils. Straight in. Oh, it just looks so much newer. Some of you may be wondering, how do you get a set? You never know, just check on eBay every day, you might get lucky. Unplug. Yeah, that hasn't moved since 2007. Now for these lights, you want to head behind this piece of carpet and there's the plug for them. And to undo them, there's 2 screws, or shall I say plastic nuts on the end for this one. So that's a 13mm spanner. They're not on very tight, so that's fell into the abyss. I've managed to retrieve it in the depths of the vehicle. I'm not going to go full detailer mode on this thing just yet. Right, the main bit. Now, even though I've done both inners, we can do a little side-by-side comparison of the Valio outer light compared to the original. The indicator's the biggest difference. So I've got a full LED indicator with these new lights, and they're the complete ring, and the originals are just this center light here. Happy with that? Yeah, what do you folks reckon on my new lights? They're pretty bright, aren't they? Right, I'll get that side changed over now, and then we're pretty much done with the back half of the car and pretty much the whole of it in general for today's video. So enjoy this montage and we'll do a summary afterwards. Right then, so that's pretty much it for today's episode on the R32. The whole plan was to basically freshen it up and just make it look a bit smarter. I think we succeeded, but you guys can let me know down below in the comments. It really doesn't look like the cheapest R32 in the country anymore. This whole section here looks very fresh. I'm going to get this wing painted soon amongst a few other rough edges. Got the Armanites on there with brand new tires. Can't forget the Scirocco seats. The new OEM badge. Yeah, definitely looks very cool next to the R36. And I also want to give a big thanks to eBay UK for sponsoring today's video. We've been working with them throughout this year. They came on board with the R36 right at the start, so it's pretty cool that they're on board with the R32 as well. I'm going to put all the relevant links down below in the description, so make sure you head over there and check out eBay certified recycling. You can save up to 70% on RRP. They're the same parts, just better for the planet and your pocket. But yeah, folks, make sure you subscribe and you drop the like on the video and all that good stuff, and I'll see you in a few days' time.